Hi Clat, it's Ibby Tarafdar and this is my studio tour. Let's go. So we gotta begin with the Aeron chair because this was my entry into the furniture game. I was in university at the time and one of my design role models, Jeff Staple from New York, I really looked up to him and he mentioned how important a chair is to a designer, and I researched the Aeron chair. It was £1,000. I was in uni, but I bought it and we're here at 2025. It's still here, my back is good, all my friends are in the chiropractor. The Reasonable Doubt print, this is like the heart of the studio because this was actually given to me by the photographer who shot Jay-Z's first album cover. And the crazy story is, he's from Wales. I reached out to him in, I think it was like 2011, I reached out to him and he was like, yo, where you from? I'm like, yo, I'm from Wales. He's like, yo, that's crazy. My family's from Wales, but we moved to Brooklyn, New York, and he was on the come up the same time Jay-Z was on the come up. I met him in 2016 in London for the 20-year anniversary of the album, and he gifted me this one-of-one signed Reasonable Doubt print. So it's really a special piece to the studio and something that's unique to me. Yo, so this is the Vitsu shelving, which is designed by Dieter Rams. And Dieter Rams is the GOAT of product design. He's actually like the GOAT of design. You know, actually Johnny Ive, who's the head Apple designer, he takes inspiration from Dieter Rams. I actually discovered Dieter Rams through a book I was reading called Essentialism in 2014, and his philosophy of living better with less just changed my life. He's actually the backbone to my design philosophy. I literally quote everything that Dieter Rams' 10 principles of good design. It's a piece that, you know, you think you'll never be able to get it, and when you get it, you're like, oh shit, I made it, you know what I mean? So it's one of those pieces. With the sofa, it was super important to get the right sofa, to get the vibe right, you know, because I don't want anything too like simple and humble, and I didn't want something that's too pretentious. You know, sometimes you see a sofa and you're like, oh shit, I don't want to sit on there. It makes you feel a certain way, you know. I wanted people to feel comfortable and right. One of my inspirations behind the sofa was Lenny S from Rock Nation, who's actually one of the executives at Rock Nation, and in his office he has a gold sofa and he has this whole thing called the gold standard. So I was like, yo, I want something in my studio which becomes like synonymous with the studio, that when people see it, they're like, yo, Ibby got that sofa at his studio. So I discovered Karimoku through a Japanese retailer, and when I seen the sofa, I was like, yo, this is like meant to be in the studio because it was just a perfect size for two people. It left good space on the left, good space on the right. So I was like, it has to be here. But the crazy thing is, it's in Japan. So I had to figure a way to bring it to the country. At the time when I moved into the studio, I was actually reading Che Guevara, Revolutionary Life. He had the beret, he had the cigar, he had the field jacket. That was his look, right? And also he was trying to get the Cubans freedom at the time when America and all these other countries were trying to take over Cuba. They were fighting for freedom. So I felt like I was kind of fighting for freedom for Cardiff in the sense of like creativity and design. So I wanted his spirit in the studio, but also a lot of people know Che Guevara's image as like this very like crazy guy, you know, but I always looked at him as like a handsome guy, you know. So I wanted people to sit on the sofa and look up and see Che and feel like nice about themselves, you know. So that's the vibe I was going for. Very simple, clean, and just like sits in the background, and that's what the Bauhaus trolley does. I was actually in an Italian design exhibition in London where I came across these guys, the Plia chairs, and when I seen it, I was like, yo, that is like a piece of art in itself. It was just invisible. Like when I seen it, I was like, yo, this is like amazing, right? So that's where I discovered it. But then when I done some research, I found out that this chair is actually revolutionary because the designer Giancarlo Peretti, he was able to take the 3 points of fold on a folding chair and put it into one disc. So we have 2 discs on the side of on each side of the chair. So that means you're able to fold the chair and it's completely flush and flat. So then it revolutionized the game because people were able to stack the chairs up and then send them out further, you know, because before this, folding chairs had like 3 points of fold, so they were really bulky. So you can see how sleek the design is. This whole section here is crazy because this wasn't even planned, you know. I was setting up the exhibition and then I was going through all my paperwork and I was like, yo, I have a whole folder called studio, object, info and admin. And I remember that I put everything to do with the studio, like all the receipts, all the tags of items, I put it into one folder. So I opened the folder, I seen all the stuff and I was like, yo, I should put that on display because it literally gives you, like, you wanna talk about receipts? I got receipts, yeah. We got certificates of authenticity, we got paperwork, we got everything here. The idea behind this was also to bring other people closer to the products, because a lot of these products, like I said, like they may come from Japan, they come from Germany, they're not products that you usually come across. So when you see the paperwork, you're able to really feel connected and see how other countries do their branding and all their print work, and just connect to the designs. We even got like this one here, Mr. Tarafdar, is from the Ace of Spades event where I got the black bottle of Ace, so I kept this because of the writing. It's nice, right?
It's lovely. Was it a conscious or an unconscious decision to keep all of the receipts, as you put it, or was it just something that you kind of? No,
I do. Yeah, I do this anyway. Like I love print and I love just, you know, preserving things, like the right things, right? So I'm glad I done it now, because obviously this has all got value, right? Like it's all got value, and it tells a story. More importantly, it tells a story, and like you said, it ties in with the actual project that I'm doing. So yeah, it all came to life in the end. This whole section of the studio was kind of like my personal workspace, so I tried to really give it that personal vibe. You know, you kind of come in, you're like, oh, this is like the master desk and this is like his personal belongings, right? And to me, I was thinking, yo, what's like a definition, or what's like an object that is like personal, you know? And to me, a locker is something that's like, it's personal to you, right? And when I think of locker, the first thing I think of is Power Rangers. I think of, you know, those shows where they open their locker and it's got like the girl that they love and everything on the side. I was like, yo, a locker is so personal. So I did feel like I wanted like a nice locker, right? And I discovered Leon through a Japanese industrial retailer. This is actually a half locker, so it's half the size of an actual like school locker, so it's a half locker. So it's a collaboration between Leon and this brand called PFC, a Japanese industrial brand. So they made this half locker. Crazy story, I once walked into my old studio and the clock had fell off the wall, and I was like, oh shit, I was so worried, right? And the maddest thing was, the clock fell directly in the gap between the locker and the wall. It fell into the gap, bro, so it didn't even break. It was just shimmied in the gap. So yeah, a little interesting story there, man. But yeah, I actually discovered this on a picture of JF Kennedy when he was doing a talk in Frankfurt in Germany. I seen the fan on the stand where he was doing the talk, and I was like, yo, I like that design. Then I researched it and I found out it's the HL Desk fan designed by Brown. When I heard the name Monogram, instantly I was like, that's a luxury straight away just by the name. Then when I seen the packaging, the all matte black, I was like, yo, that's crazy, you know, that's a crazy take. And then all the sub-branding, like the numbers, like this is number 1, then we've got like a few other numbers which are significant to Jay-Z's life. I thought that was an amazing way of like telling a story, like using the numbers to signify different chapters of Hov's life. So right here, I got the Ace of Spades, but this ain't no ordinary gold bottle of Ace of Spades. This is the Blanc de Noir, the rarest Ace of Spades on the market. It's crazy because when I first moved into my studio, I wanted an Ace of Spades in the studio because I felt like Ace of Spades represented that sort of, from the hood to the high life. I felt like it was the perfect item that bridged those two classes together. So I wanted Ace of Spades, but I was like, nah, the gold bottle don't really, you know, match the aesthetic and the color palette. I was like, yo, do they make a different color? So I've done some research and I found out they make this very rare black bottle. And at the time, they didn't have, you couldn't buy it. You're not able to just buy the black bottle. So I was like, I want this black bottle, but I can't get it, right? Bro, crazy story. Few weeks after that, Ace of Spades announces that they'll be re-releasing the black bottle. I was like, straight away, I was like, this is meant for me. I knew straight away. I was actually thinking of buying like a model of like a nice vehicle, you know, but I didn't think like a few years later, Nipsey Hussle's company, The Marathon, would release a miniature version of the Brinks truck. So I actually went to LA in 2019, shortly after Nipsey passed, and I got to see the Brinks truck in real life. And when I seen it, I was like, whoa, this is cool, man, because it's a great piece of branding, it's a great piece of marketing. So I connected with the Brinks truck. And lastly, thank you, Klat, for visiting the studio. It's been a pleasure. It's mad because we started in the morning and now it's like the evening. So you're able to see the studio transition from the day and night.